What?
Weren't you listening?
What?
She's the best expert I know on how to help kids with listening skills. Pay attention. For this episode, we're not going to jump into all of the psychological aspects of listening so much as the actual mechanics and skills that are associated with listening. Mm-hmm. And Vicki, you work with this all the time.
I do. You know, there is something called central auditory processing, and that's where a kid's hearing is just fine. But for some reason, when they hear an instruction or whatever, it gets kind of jumbled and they don't, process it as well.
Yeah, the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Yeah, well, a little bit. But our kids realize that's kind of few and far between.
Right.
A lot of children have a hard time listening. It is a skill.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever Googled those videos of a baby who has not had hearing and then they get their first cochlear implant and they map it and they turn it on, and when they hear for the first time, it's a skill. They don't really know what they're listening to.
Right. Or what to do with all of that data that's now available to them.
So one of the things you can do right from the very beginning with little kids is you kind of play some rhythm and sound games. Maybe go for a listening walk. If you're talking a really small kid, you go for a listening walk and you actually go through and you stop. What do you hear? Oh, I heard a voice. Somebody's playing outside. And you're going to just stop and hear a voice. You're going to listen for an animal. That's why, little kids, they learn moo before they do cow. They learn the sounds that they make. So go ahead and start listening for different sounds. Maybe, it's so easy with your phone. You can actually get little recording clips. You can say, what does this one sound like? So that's for a young child. You're teaching them how to map listening with something else.
Yes. We've talked before, Vicki, about how play is the work of children. It's what they do. So make it fun. Engage with them in a playful way with the objective of helping them to learn these listening skills, and you're going to have a whole lot more success.
Yeah. A lot of the times parents come to me and say, he doesn't listen, and it might be kind of a focus issue. Let's talk about children and their ability to follow multi-step directions. A lot of the times that's when parents tell me they're not listening. I told him to get his coat and to meet me in tell his brother to come meet me out at the car and that we were going to go on Thursday, and he's still in there playing his game or whatever, right?
Right.
So one of the things we can do to help our children listen is slow down and break down. So we want to slow down our speech to them, our instructions, and then break it down into smaller chunks. Little children, I'm trying to think of what age you really can follow a really complicated 3-step direction. It's a little older,
Yeah, don't expect your 2-year-old, your 3-year-old, maybe even your 4-year-old to do this.
Yeah.
Now, by the time they're getting to 5 or 6, they've got some metacognitive abilities and they can start to track some things.
But kids with some focus issues are still going to struggle with those longer directions. So break it down, break it into 1 or 2 or 3 steps. One of the things I love to teach kids is the skill is making a list of what's expected. Maybe you have certain routines that they need to do every day or on a regular basis.
Okay, like a bedtime routine or a getting ready
or maybe
in the morning routine.
on they've got to get through a certain number of chores or something because you'll be home a little later after school. So even an older kid, have it broken down on a list, but you're going to teach them the skill of returning to the list. So when they say, wait, what did you say I'm supposed to do? You're going to go back to the list.
Did you check your list?
Yeah, we're going to go back to the list instead of repeating it to them. And it might appear that they're not listening, but really they're not remembering all of the steps.
And tracking that sequence. Now, the list doesn't have to be words.
No,
in fact, with younger kids, you're going to have pictures, and it might be a picture of someone brushing their teeth and combing their hair and tying their shoes so that they can go to the list and they see that sequence.
Right. Another thing I try to teach parents and kids is a skill called repeat and rephrase.
Repeat and rephrase.
So
I teach couples this in my office.
Yes, you want to repeat what they said, or word for word sometimes. You give your child, what did I just say? And you see if they actually know what it was you were listening to.
If they can repeat it back to you.
Right. And rephrasing, of course, is just putting it in their own words. And either one is fine, either one. But have them repeat, rephrase, and that's a listening skill. Okay, we're going to practice this. If I said da-da-da-da, repeat it, rephrase it to me. I did that with a child today. One more thing is sometimes, if you have a child that really does seem to have a hard time listening, maybe
Yes.
they're just a little bit busier child, right? Sometimes sometimes you have to teach them how to be their own self-advocate. So teach them the skill of saying, I didn't get all of that. Could you say it again a little slower? So you teach them to ask.
Wait, kids can say this?
Yeah, so they could ask their teacher to slow down. They could ask you to slow down. They could ask you to break it down. This is tough.
When our granddaughter was only 3, sometimes she would hear a word that she didn't understand. And she's pretty sharp. I mean, she's linguistically able to determine, okay, I caught all those words, but I missed that one. And she would grab that word and she would say, Grammy, what does, and then she'd repeat the word, mean? Yeah. She's advocating for herself. This is another example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
More resources are available. How to talk to kids so they listen? That's one of the next videos you might want to check into on this channel. We've also got a free parenting breakthrough call that you can get connected to right down there in the description. Click on the link and we'll see you inside.
In the street alone. Her head was down, face locked onto